Today on the official Marvel podcast, we hear from the cast of Marvel Television's Wonder Man, Ben Kingsley and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II.
Simon sort of represents the actor who is unknown, who is talented and passionate, and who just needs a break. I definitely resonate with that.
We're also recapping the Department of Damage Control's transformation from the Marvel Cinematic Universe's cleanup crew to their latest role investigating Simon Williams in Wonder Man.
Plus, DK senior editor David Fentiman and writer Liz Marsham join us to discuss their new book, Marvel Studios Cross Sections, featuring detailed art of key MCU locations, vehicles, and more.
I think the key thing with any fictional universe is the detail. It's the detail that makes it feel real and authentic and compelling. And for me, what that does is it makes it feel real. I can create like a mental image of what it looks like. I can feel like I'm there.
I'm Preeti Chibber.
I'm Quinn Lamar.
And this is the official Marvel podcast.
Lights, camera, action. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has graced our screens for nearly 2 decades, but it's never looked quite like it does in the newest series from Marvel Television, Wonder Man.
Starring Emmy Award winner Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as aspiring actor Simon Williams and Oscar winner Sir Ben Kingsley as veteran actor / kind of former terrorist Trevor Slattery, Wonder Man is about the making of a superhero movie.
If that sounds meta to you, you can only imagine how meta acting in it felt for the actors. Yahya spoke about how the show's self-referential nature made it easy to relate to the character of Simon Williams.
I remember what it was like 11 years ago, 10 and a half years ago when I was in school and nobody knew who I was at all. And I felt like I had so much to give, but nobody knew that I was even there. And so I was just saying, I just want a shot. I just want a chance. Simon's the same way. Simon sort of represents the actor who is unknown, who is talented and passionate, and who just needs a break. I definitely, resonate with that. And that's the cool thing about the show. I've already seen a little bit of conversation already from actors who appreciate, us showing what an actor goes through to prepare for an audition, or how much work it actually is and how much mental work it is going through and making choices and marking your script up with lines and doing your text work. It's really a job. It's not just playtime. It's a craft, and there's so much hours of work that goes into this, so much labor. And you may not even, that's all before you even get the job, where the work already starts. So I'm glad that the show sheds light on that. But that we also do it in a humorous and heartfelt way too, so it doesn't alienate you if you're not an actor.
Sir Ben also responded to the meta aspect of working on Wonder Man.
It's really well written. And it is written by a group of people who are immersed in Hollywood, who were all together in a writing room, in a studio in Hollywood. It's not written by people who are guessing or diminishing. Of course, there are elements of satire, but all of us in the business have a sense of humor about the business and have some ironic observations about the business, but we only have those observations because we love it. These are loving observations. And I think that I know that Yahya and I just inhabited those characters effortlessly because the writing rings true.
Of course, for Sir Ben, being an actor playing an actor in the MCU has been a joy for some time now. The character of Trevor Slattery made his first appearance in 2013 in Marvel Studios' Iron Man 3, before going on to appear in the Marvel Studios one-shot All Hail the King, Marvel Studios' Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and now, of course, Wonder Man.
It's very special. It's very special. There are not many beloved characters one can have an opportunity of revisiting so many times. I think that Trevor is, at his heart, he's a kind person. I know in the biblical sense he has fallen amongst thieves, but he has, I think, made an attempt to restore himself and also made a concerted effort to be the actor his mother always dreamed he would become. There is a lasting bond between Trevor and his late mother, and it is that ambition that drives to justify himself in the eyes of his mother, even though she may be in heaven. And that kindness and that quite sincere dedication to his craft, I think, makes him an ideal mentor, I suppose, to an actor of another generation who is struggling to be seen and heard, as Simon Williams is struggling to be seen and heard. And instead of bringing, the accusatory or the envious or the diminishing out of Trevor, he brings something very kind. And Trevor does openly and willingly volunteer to advise, guide, help Simon. And I think this is a very attractive quality. And I think that has a lot to do with the genuine relationship between those two characters, that one has something to say and the other is eager to listen.
That sort of mentor-mentee relationship continued behind the scenes as well. Here's Yahya again.
In the first episode, Simon, he has this audition and he's flustered and he's trying to get it together. And then, Mom was calling him Sir Ben. And then Trevor is telling him basically, look, throw all that stuff out, just take a breath and just go. And I found myself having a moment in episode, we were shooting, I think, episode 7 or something like episode 6 or 7, way later in the season, when I'm having a moment. And I just looked over to him. I said, I'm sort of feeling some of the things that Simon feels, because my mind was busy. And, we sort of just talked about that, about, sometimes it just gets like that. And so what do you have to do? Just breathe and let go and just see what happens. And it was a real cool scene. We were just in the car and just having a conversation. And I was just letting the words come to me. We were just doing it over and over and over, just letting the camera roll. So that was a moment where I found myself in sort of the role of Simon and having Sir Ben in the role of Trevor, just saying, just be cool and let it happen. And I'm saying, yeah, I'm gonna just be cool and let it happen. Now, I took the advice much easier than Simon would. Simon would never just easily fall into the advice, but I knew that he was right. And the funny thing is that the lines blurred sometimes like that, where we would sort of fall into the natural characteristics of our own characters in a mentor-mentee type of way.
Just as Yahya discovered similarities between himself and his character in unexpected ways, one gets the sense that Sir Ben is also not too far from his character. Sir Ben's love of the acting profession shines through in ways that have strong parallels to Trevor.
I think that Yahya and I very rarely strayed off the script. So the writing really is a massive contribution to that relationship. It does indeed exist on the page. Naturally, it needs two performers, two actors who enjoy the craft for all the right reasons and trust each other as actors and really believe in the script. And I think we do, because I think the script does hold some genuine patterns of human behavior involving loyalty, commitment, secrets, the possibility of terrible disappointment, redemption. These are all, these are big words that I'm using. And I'm talking about a great fun series. But a great fun series, all the things that are contagious, that audiences love, have elements of truth in which they're rooted. And both Yahya and I really warmed to the truth, the truthful patterns of human relationships in the script.
That's such a lovely sentiment. Equally touching is how Sir Ben describes working with Marvel Studios over the years.
My experiences of Marvel are that it is a company that cares greatly about storytelling, that really cherishes its actors and creative teams, and is technically brilliantly advanced and evolved, and is a great place for actors to work. So here ends my love letter to Marvel, but it's from the heart.
That love of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a feeling Yahya shares.
I think I really like how Marvel, they've got a great thing going on. They've got different flavors, different textures for everyone. And it's really rooted, although there's a supernatural element to the Marvel universe, it's rooted in the world that looks like ours, that looks like mine when I walk outside. And I think that's appealing to me.
The Marvel Universe has frequently been referred to as the world outside your window, And now that world outside your window that Simon Williams is walking around in is on TV. Ooh, that is meta.
You can stream all 8 episodes of Marvel Television's Wonder Man now, only on Disney+. You know what's fun?
Smashing stuff.
Yeah. What? Wait, you got that right away. I thought this was going to be more of a guessing game. But hey, you know what's not fun?
Stomach bugs.
No, that's gross. No, I was going to say cleaning things up. But I really thought we were on the same page there for a second, but I guess not.
Well, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, our heroes don't have to worry about picking up after themselves due to a special organization called Damage Control.
Damage Control is a lot like your parents standing in the middle of the room screaming, "Who left these Chitauri alien weapons all over the floor?"
They're tasked with the cleanup after all those fun battles finish.
Over the years, they've also taken on more preventative roles, tracking and apprehending superhumans who are responsible for destruction.
We were introduced to Damage Control in Spider-Man Homecoming. They're kind of responsible for pushing Michael Keaton's character, Adrian Toomes, to the dark side.
Well, come on now. He's an adult who's responsible for his own actions.
Sure, but I don't think Toomes becomes the Vulture if he was able to keep that city contract and clean up the Big Apple after the Battle of New York in Marvel Studios' Avengers.
Maybe. We do get a better look at Damage Control in the Marvel Studios series, Ms. Marvel. During the post-credit scene at the end of the first episode, we meet agents Cleary and Deaver. They're intensely focused and probably not much fun at parties. They're alerted to the events that take place at AvengerCon. You know, your one-stop fan convention celebrating Earth's mightiest heroes.
Check this out. A teenage girl at AvengerCon.
AvengerCon? A cosplayer with too much time on their hands.
The hands they're talking about are the very capable, very sparkly hands of Kamala Khan, played by the outstanding Iman Vellani.
When Kamala's powers emerge for the first time at AvengerCon, some accidents occur.
She decapitates Ant-Man.
It's a statue, not the real Scott Lang.
Oh, was I not clear?
Why are you like this? I will say this. For an organization tasked with cleaning up messes, Damage Control has a supernatural ability to make a whole bunch of them themselves.
Oh, Agent Deaver has deadly accuracy when it comes to, stepping on rakes.
She definitely has an axe to grind, and we see it get worse as the series progresses.
In the second episode of the series, Damage Control questions Zoe, the classmate that Kamala had saved.
So you do know what she looks like. What else do you know?
Nothing. I didn't really get a good look at her. I mean, it all happened so fast.
Did she have an accent of any kind? No? Was she Latina? I'm sorry, I'm supposed to say Latinx now, right? No? Middle Eastern, perhaps? South Asian?
Most, if not all of us, can guess where this leads.
Deaver and Damage Control show up at a Jersey City mosque, and it seems like they may have forgotten something in their hurry to get there.
Fan out, search premises.
Not without our permission, you won't. You have no legal authority here.
Excuse me?
Nakia Bahadir, mosque board member.
We still have few more votes to count.
Okay, all right, prospective member, but I feel good about our polling. Pursuant to U.S. Criminal Code, law enforcement officers are not permitted to enter a private space without a signed warrant.
Yeah, you studied the criminal code in homeroom.
Law and order reruns, but I'm not wrong.
It is a very serious matter. It is in your best interest to cooperate.
Serious because your person of interest is enhanced, or because she was spotted at a mosque, ma'am.
Oh, those pesky laws.
Deaver is committed to this path. Who cares about the consequences or Cleary's level-headed, measured, law-abiding approach? It all culminates outside Kamala's high school.
Hey, we are closing in on the enhanced individuals as we speak.
Yes, and they're doing it in front of a high school. Apparently there's such thing as bad press, and I don't like it. What is this?
It is not just one enhanced individual, it is two, and they are leaving a trail of destruction all through Jersey City. Just give me 3 minutes, and I promise you.
Ma'am, are we a go?
Hold.
Don't. I don't care if you need another 10 seconds, okay? You're not gonna get it. Evacuate now, Deaver. You hear me?
At least there's one adult in the room.
And Deaver obviously listens and backs down.
Well, where would the dramatic tension be in that? No, Damage Control bursts into the high school, leading to a conflict that only Ms. Marvel and her capable Studio 54 disco ball hands can stop.
The world would be a brighter place with more Ms. Marvels in it.
True words. Damage Control shows up next in Marvel Studios' She-Hulk Attorney at Law.
Oh, Tatiana Maslany is tremendous as Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk.
Couldn't agree more.
In the series, Jennifer is summoned to the Damage Control prison where the organization does a decent job of keeping superpowered criminals behind bars.
Abomination escapes twice.
Okay, yeah, they kind of screw that up too. Abomination, aka Emil Blonsky, is played by the fantastic Tim Roth. He's up for release due to good behavior, and Jennifer is tasked with proving his rehabilitation. But his rehabilitation is up for dispute due to his...
escaping twice. But as Jennifer is able to explain, Blonsky had a good reason.
I've asked Wong here today because he is the man responsible for Emil Blonsky leaving prison. And I do think you will see this whole thing in a totally different light after hearing from him.
Have you ever heard of a kumite?
Yes, the Sorcerer Wong, played by the supremely, get it, talented Benedict Wong, broke Abomination out of prison for an underground fight tournament. So, we cool?
Turns out, yeah, we're cool. They released Blonsky under the condition that he never turns into the Abomination again. And as for Wong...
You realize that you've just admitted to facilitating a prisoner escape, which is a crime.
I must depart.
Later in the series, when She-Hulk is rage-baited into committing some serious property damage, Jennifer herself ends up a guest in Damage Control's prison. They're batting 1,000 over there at Damage Control.
They're definitely trying their best.
Are they?
I don't know. Since then, Agent Cleary and Damage Control have headed to Hollywood, as we saw in Marvel Television's Wonder Man.
Let's hope Cleary manages to clean up some of the rakes that Deaver left laying around.
Spider-Man Homecoming, Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk Attorney at Law, and Wonder Man are all streaming now on Disney+. Quinn, out of all the different locations in the MCU, do you have a favorite?
Are we talking places like Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum? Or bigger, like Nowhere, the decapitated celestial head turned headquarters of the Guardians of the Galaxy?
Well...
Ooh, or the Fantastic Four's Baxter Building.
You know...
Oh my God, I almost forgot about the Avengers Tower. That has to be my favorite. It's just so iconic.
Luckily, you don't have to pick just one, because every location you mentioned is featured in the brand new book, Marvel Studios Cross Sections. The book not only showcases these places, but also shows you what's inside of them. And it's not just locations, it also includes vehicles like the Avengers Quinjet and more.
You know, I always thought it was so cool that they named the Quinjet after me. To tell us all about it, official Marvel Podcast co-host Anthony Carboni sat down with the book's editor, David Fentiman, and writer Liz Marsham. Check it out.
I love books like Marvel Cross Sections. Can you tell us a little bit about what the cross section books are for people who haven't looked at one before?
So effectively what we do is we take key things from the universe that we're dealing with, whether it's Star Wars or Marvel, and we just pick them apart and kind of show them as if they were real things. If it's a real building, what would be inside it? If it's a real vehicle, where would the engines be? Where would the fuel tanks be? I think the key thing with any fictional universe is the detail. It's the detail that makes it feel real and authentic and compelling. And for me, what that does is it makes it feel real. I can create like a mental image of what it looks like. I can feel like I'm there. And that's kind of what the cross-sections books are intended to do. They sort of make these things that might only be on screen quite briefly feel real because we've explained everything about them, how they work, where everything is. And I think that's what fans find really compelling about them.
For sure. How did Marvel Studios Cross Sections come about? And then Liz, how did you get involved with this one?
So I think it was an obvious next step because we've been doing Star Wars Cross Sections books for decades at this point.
Yeah, man, I'm looking at 3 of them on my shelf right now.
And, I did a few of those. They were great fun to work on. But it sort of felt like we really wanted to do a Marvel one. It felt like that was sort of a no-brainer. But the MCU is so much bigger than just in terms of like quantities of movies and things than Star Wars is. So it was always kind of trying to work out how to make it work, what would need to happen to put a book like this together. And it turns out what needed to happen was basically for Liz to sit and watch hundreds of hours of movies and TV shows.
Rough gig. So Liz, it sounds like how you got involved is somebody just needed to tackle this thing. And it sounds like it was pretty huge.
Yeah, so when David and I were talking about doing the book, I started trying to kind of wrap my brain around like, okay, how would I start? Let me just see what kind of facts I already have at my command versus the kind of thing I'm going to have to go back to the movies and figure out. And I pretty quickly realized, oh, I haven't seen some of these since they were in the theater like a decade, almost 2 decades ago in some cases. And so I wrote back to David and was like, hey, how would you feel if I just made the schedule grind to a complete halt for like 3 weeks while I just rewatch the entire MCU front to back and just take all these notes? And that way, like, whenever we have a question about how specifically this thing came about, like, I'll already have it in my notes. And he said, yeah, sure, give it a shot. So that's what happened. And it would have been really annoying for anyone to watch with me because I was pausing every 90 seconds to like frantically type everything that had just happened. Especially when it was like, you know, here's the first shot of a building you see. It was like, okay, here we go, you know?
Yeah. You're just pausing during the times that like are not necessarily people's favorites. You're like, ooh, great shot of that chair.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Or like, wait, where did that blast from the Iron Man armor just come from? Was that from his shoulder or was that from his hand? Wait, hold on, I gotta rewind that. Yeah.
Okay, so Iron Man's armor is definitely in the book, but what else are we gonna see?
I mean, I can run through in order, like, what we start with. It's pretty much chronological. So the very first one in the book is Camp Lehigh from Captain America. Then we have Iron Man in his armor. Then we have Iron Man's house, we have the Stark Mansion, then Asgard, like the Royal Palace in Asgard, the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, then the Triskelion from Winter Soldier, the Milano from Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers Tower, the Quinjet, the Red Room from Black Widow, the Wakanda Citadel, which is another great piece. Probably my personal favorite, which is the New York Sanctum, just because there's so many amazing little Easter eggs in that one, which I absolutely love. Then Hank Pym's like mobile suitcase lab from Ant-Man and the Wasp, Talocan, the kind of underwater city, and then finishing up with the Baxter Building. So there is plenty of stuff in there. All of the praise goes to the artists. Ultimately, it's their book. We just kind of helped assemble it. But like, so the artists were Kemp Remillard and Max Degturev, who we worked with previously on our Star Wars cross-sections books. And then we had 3 brand new artists that we'd never worked with before, who were Liam Keating, Robert Bunchon, and Brendan McCaffrey.
Yeah, Liz, what was your favorite thing where an illustration came back where you were just like, oh, I can't wait, this is so cool?
That's the problem, is there's too many. Like David was saying, these artists are so incredibly talented, like at every level. Like they're tremendous, just like technical draftsmen, but then also they're just incredibly creative and really funny. So they would build in these little jokes into the art, and that was so nice. And then other times the artist would be like, hey, I don't know what to put in this corner. What do you think we should do over here? And I'd be like, this is a different kind of gift, right? It was just such a great process. I mean, there was a moment when, you know, Robert was working on Hank Pym's lab, and he was like, okay, we see these parts of the building, but then there's all this building that we don't see. Like, what do you think is in there? And I, like, half as a joke was like, ants. And then I was like, wait, no, really, it's probably ants. Like anywhere that a human might go, maybe would be sort of carved out. But like, if you think about the way an anthill works, it's probably ants in most of that building, right? And he was like, oh yeah. And so that kind of then just influenced the direction that we went with that. It was great.
Oh,
and
that's amazing.
Max loves putting like actual people into his art, and like little people like in little scenes, like here's Thor in the kitchen making a sandwich. And like, that was always such a delight to like keep zooming in and being like, oh man, you can get huge with these things and like everything still works. It's magic. You guys are all wizards and I don't understand, you know?
Oh, that's sick. That's sick.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, wait, zoom in. I've always wanted to see this.
Yeah, exactly. Did you put anything around there? Yeah.
That's so cool. I mean, to me, the thing, when I think about challenges, is some of these places are just magical, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Well, that was also great because like Liam drew the New York Sanctum, and he was talking about like, okay, so I put all the pieces in place from the stuff that we got from the filmmakers, and this door just backs up onto the house next door. And I was like, I mean, yeah, that's not a deal breaker. Like, maybe it's a portal. And he was like, yeah. And then he was talking about like what he wanted the kitchen to look like. And like, how do you make physical a house that is completely magical is a question that the filmmakers had already started to answer for us. And so we could just sort of pull on those threads and like fill in all the little corners. And that was tremendous.
Yeah, because we see in the movie, like in The Sanctum, you have things that are very Escher-esque, but then we also know that he has like a basement junk room. So it's like a very strange place.
Exactly.
How has working on this book sort of expanded or enhanced your understanding of the MCU, like as a whole, where you were like, oh, I sort of get this now about this world?
Definitely. Like, there's things that even when you watch these movies a bunch of times that you just always miss, and it takes someone kind of actually pointing out, and then you have that kind of, oh yeah, moment. Like an example for me was the Triskelion, like how it basically has no exterior windows. And it's not something you kind of think about, but then it highlights like that's because they're incredibly insular and, as it turned out, like corrupt organization that's trying to kind of hide itself from the world. And then you see how that's manifested in the actual building in a way that you sort of might pick up subconsciously, but you won't be overtly aware of the fact that there's no windows on the outside. They're all looking inwards.
I really enjoyed when the filmmakers would give us something like, yeah, the Triskelion has no windows on the outside, because then I could go deep into my writer brain and be like, okay, what else does that mean? Like, what is it like to work in that building?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what if you park your car way over here, but your office is way over there? Like, that installation is gigantic. And like, that's incredibly inconvenient. And maybe they did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's part of keeping you distracted from the shady stuff, right? Like, which parts of the bureaucracy are purposefully difficult to interact with?
There's definitely a separate cafeteria for contract workers than there is for full-timers in the Triskelion, yeah.
Yeah. And it was fun that the filmmakers let me kind of play around the edges of that idea. Like there was one, I think just like little annotation that I did in the Triskelion where I put like the human resources division like way out in the farthest arm of the Triskelion and said something like you could only interact with them via like in-person appointments.
HR does not care in the Triskelion.
Right? They're like, okay, but you need to make an appointment in person and you need to come here and it has to fit within your lunch break. And we have an opening in 8 to 10 business weeks. Right? Like, yeah.
That's so fun. Oh my gosh, this sounds like such an amazing project. I'm so excited for people to get to see it, y'all. Thank you so much for coming, Liz, David. It was really great to talk to you.
Yeah, this was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
I hope that people enjoy the book and get to see the tremendous work that all these artists did.
Marvel Studios Cross Sections is available now.
Writer Al Ewing has introduced some big, mind-melting concepts in the pages of Marvel Comics. The nature of good and evil in the pages of the Immortal Hulk, the psychological depth lurking within Venom, the formation of a new planetary government for conflicting mutant societies in X-Men Red. And that's just a fraction of Al's incredible work from Marvel. So what Marvel Comics from the past inspire Al to create these deep, exciting stories? Well, he's drawn to a very specific 1976 series in the catalog of legendary Marvel creator Jack Kirby, an adaptation of 2001: A Space Odyssey from novelist Arthur C. Clarke and filmmaker Stanley Kubrick.
I'm going to go right back to Kirby. I think we were talking earlier off mic about Kirby's Black Panther. I would recommend that. It's a kind of really interesting take, but I don't know if does Marvel still have the rest of his 2001 stuff? I know it birthed Machine Man. If you've got 2001, yeah, Jack Kirby's 2001 is like that's really exciting stuff. That's just, it's really interesting watching the King just sort of grapple with all of these, like, all these themes, all of these kind of strange, all this, the Kubrick and the Arthur C. Clarke stuff. Like, seeing him filter it through his lens, and like as it goes on, it's like a weird thing where he's sort of repeating the story but every time he repeats it, it changes. It becomes kind of more his own. It becomes more out there. It's unlike anything else he did.
Next week on the Official Marvel Podcast, we look back at Marvel Animation's What If, with Marvel Studios head of television, streaming, and animation Brad Winterbaum, executive producer, showrunner, and head writer A.C. Bradley, and more.
What's the weirdest, coolest, most different thing that you'll never see in the movies that we can do in an episode? But at the same time, how do we stay true to the characters?
Until then, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you listen.
This episode of the Official Marvel Podcast was hosted by Quinn Lamar and me, Preeti Chibber, featuring Anthony Carboni.
Our producers are Jasmine Estrada and Anita Flores. Additional writing by Julia Byers and Michael Spadaccini.
Brad Barton is our Senior Manager of Audio Production and Development, and our Production Manager is Emily Godfrey.
Mixed by Ry Dorsey.
Our theme music is by Ida Akbal.
Executive produced by Larissa Rosen.
Thanks for listening.